Alright, what's going on, guys? Today I'll be breaking down the NBA slate for Monday, March 27th. We've got 6 games on today's Monday slate. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, your top point guard on today's slate is Russell Westbrook. He doesn't get that good of a matchup against the Mavericks. You all know the Mavericks play at a very slow pace. I don't think I'm going to be targeting Westbrook on this slate. Not in this slow-paced matchup. I definitely think he can get you 60 fantasy points in this matchup, but I feel like there are other studs worth targeting. So I don't think I'm going to be on Westbrook. I don't think it's very optimal to take him against Dallas. It kind of lowers his upside playing in the slow-paced matchup, so I don't think I'm going to be on Westbrook. Kyrie Irving against San Antonio. I really like Kyrie in this matchup. The Spurs do struggle against point guards, and I feel like LeBron's going to struggle in this game. Him and Kawhi are going to be going at it, so that's really going to open up the door for Kyrie. So if you want to pay for point guard, Kyrie is definitely in play on this slate. Even at $43, I definitely think he can get you 45 fantasy points in this matchup and return value. So I like Kyrie on the slate if you want to pay up for point guard. I'm also like Mike Conley against Sacramento. Marc Gasol missed Sunday's game, and if Gasol misses again, then Conley is really going to have to step up. So I definitely like Conley if Gasol continues to be out. Like I said, Conley's really going to have to step up, and he's going to have to do a lot more offensively. So I also like Conley. If you don't want to pay up to the top, you want to attack the mid-range, I like him. Elfrid Payton against Toronto. I really like Payton if you're going to attack the mid-range. With Corey Joseph playing point guard for the Raptors, they really struggle to defend point guards. Joseph is not nearly as good as a defender as Kyle Lowry was. So Payton is definitely worth a look if you're attacking the mid-range. He's been killing it lately. He's been very consistent. And he's pretty cheap on Yahoo at just $29. He only has to get about 30 to 35 fantasy points to return value. And he can definitely do that in this matchup against the Raptors. So I like Payton if you're going to attack the mid-range. I think he is in play. Also like Derrick Rose against Detroit. Carmelo Anthony has been playing limited minutes, so Rose and Porzingis have really had to step up. And D Rose has actually been playing very well as of late, and he's been very consistent. In his last 5 games, he's put up 24, 25, 29, 24, and 36 fantasy points. And Rose has been getting pretty heavy minutes as well. He's played over 30 minutes in 4 of his last 5 games. So I definitely think if you're going to attack the mid-range, D Rose is also a guy you should target. He's pretty cheap on Yahoo at just $24. He only has to get about 25 to 30 fantasy points to return value, and I definitely think he can do that in this matchup against Detroit. Detroit does struggle against point guards, and if Ish Smith continues to start, that's a plus matchup for Rose. Ish Smith is not a good defender, so I definitely like D Rose. If you're going to attack the mid-range, I think he is in play. I'm also like George Hill against the Pelicans. The Pelicans also do struggle against point guards, and Hill is pretty cheap on Yahoo, just $21. He only has to get about 25 fantasy points to return value. But Hill has been a little inconsistent lately. His last 5 games, he's put up 15, 34, 30, 27, and 8 fantasy points. I definitely think he can bounce back today and get you 25 to 30 fantasy points and return value on his price. So if you're going to attack the mid-range, I like George Hill. I think he is in play. And if you need some value at point guard, I like Corey Joseph against Orlando. With Kyle Lowry out, Joseph's really had to step up. He's had to move into the starting role, and he's been getting heavy minutes ever since he's moved into the starting role. He's been getting just about over 30 minutes every night. And at just $14 on Yahoo, Joseph only has to get about 25 fantasy points to return value. And I definitely think he can do that in this matchup against Orlando. They really struggle against point guards. So if you need some value on the slate, I like Corey Joseph. I think he is in play. And one more value play I like at point guard is Ish Smith against the Knicks. Smith has been starting for Reggie Jackson. Jackson has gotten benched, so they've moved Ish Smith into the starting lineup. In the 2 games that Smith has started, he's played 25 and 15 minutes and put up 25 and 8 fantasy points. I definitely think Smith can bounce back today. If he continues to start, I really like him as a value play. At just $13, he only needs about 20 to 25 fantasy points to return value, and he can definitely do that in this matchup against the Knicks. They really struggle against point guards. Derrick Rose is not a good defender. So if you need some value at point guard, also like Ish Smith, I think he's a guy you should target if you're looking for value. And yeah, that's pretty much it for point guard. Let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard. All right, your top shooting guard on this slate is DeMar DeRozan. He gets a really good matchup at home against Orlando. The Magic really struggle to defend shooting guards, and I really like DeRozan's price at $42. That's pretty cheap for him. He only needs about 40 to 45 fantasy points to return value, and I definitely think he can do that today against the Magic. If you're going to pay up for shooting guard, DeRozan is definitely a guy you should target. He's been playing pretty well lately. In his last 3 games, he's put up 64, 52, and 32 fantasy points. I definitely think he can get you 40 fantasy points in this matchup against the Magic. Like I said, they really struggle against shooting guards. So if you can find the value, I definitely like DeRozan. I think he is worth paying up for on this slate. Drew Holiday against Utah. I don't think I'm going to go there on this slate. I really like Holiday's price tag at $28, but I don't really like attacking guys against Utah. Utah's a really good defensive team, and they play at a very slow pace, so I don't think I'm going to be on Drew Holiday. Victor Oladipo I like against Dallas. Now this isn't that great of a matchup. Like I said, Dallas does play at a very slow pace, but they really struggle to defend shooting guards. And Oladipo is very cheap at just $24. He only needs about 30 fantasy points to return value. And I definitely think he can do that in this matchup against Dallas. Even though they play at a slow pace, I like Oladipo. I think he's just way too cheap, and he can easily return value in this matchup. Like I said, Dallas really struggles against shooting guards, so if you're going to attack the mid-range, I like Oladipo. I think he is in play. If you need some value at shooting guard, I like Buddy Hield against Memphis. This isn't that great of a matchup. Memphis is a very good defensive team, and they play at a very slow pace. But Buddy Hield is very cheap on Yahoo, just $13. He's been playing very well lately. He's been crushing value. With that $13 price tag, he only needs about 20 to 25 fantasy points to return value, and he's done that in 4 straight games. On his last 4 games, he's put up 34, 30, 45, and 29 fantasy points. So if you need some value on the slate, I definitely like Buddy Hield. I feel like people are going to shy away from him when they see Memphis, but Hield can definitely return value, especially on Yahoo where he's just $13. Like I said, he only needs about 20 to 25 fantasy points to return value, so I definitely think he can do that even in this slow-paced matchup. Ever since Hield got traded to the Kings, he's just been playing heavy minutes. He's been getting just about over 30 minutes every night. So if you need some value at shooting guard, I like Buddy Hield. I think he is in play, especially on Yahoo. He is very cheap, just $13. And yeah, that's pretty much it for shooting guard. Let's go ahead and move on to small forward. Your top small forward on the slate is LeBron James. He gets a really bad matchup against the Spurs. The Spurs are one of the best defensive teams against the small forward. Kawhi Leonard is one of the best defenders in the league. But I don't think you're going to pay up for LeBron on this slate. I think there are other studs worth targeting. LeBron is pretty much matchup proof, but I don't think it's very ideal to pay that price tag for him going up against the Spurs. If Yahoo did lower his price, then maybe I would consider him. But at $57, he needs about 60 fantasy points to return value, and I don't think it's very likely that he's going to be able to do that going up against Kawhi. If I'm going to attack Cleveland, I would much rather take Kyrie. I think Kyrie is going to have a very good game today, and I think LeBron might struggle. So if you want to get some exposure to the Cavs offense, I would probably just go with Kyrie. Kawhi in that same game, I don't think I'm going to be paying up for Kawhi either going up against LeBron. LeBron's a pretty solid defender, and Kawhi is very overpriced on Yahoo at $50. He needs close to 55 fantasy points to return value, and I don't think it's very likely that he's going to be able to do that, so I'm not going to be on Kawhi. I think he's way too expensive. Carmelo against Detroit, I'm not going to be on Carmelo on the slate. The Knicks have started to lower his minutes since they're getting closer to the end of the season, so I'm not going to be on Melo, not at $35, especially if he's not getting his full allotment of minutes. I don't think he is in play. At that price tag, I like Gordon Hayward against New Orleans. Hayward is currently questionable for this game, but he is expected to play, and he is pretty cheap on Yahoo, just $35. He only needs about 35 to 40 fantasy points to return value, and I definitely think he can do that in this matchup against the Pelicans. They really struggle against small forwards, so if you don't want to pay up for LeBron or Kawhi, I like Gordon Hayward at the mid-range. I think he is in play. This is a very good matchup. The Pelicans do struggle against small forwards, so I like Gordon Hayward on the slate if you're attacking the mid-range. Also like Harrison Barnes against OKC. This isn't that great of a matchup going up against Andre Roberson, but Barnes is very consistent, and he's pretty cheap at just $26. He only needs about 30 fantasy points to return value, and I definitely think he can do that. Barnes is pretty much a lock for 35 minutes. He's a guy I like to lock in for cash games just because his minutes are so consistent, and just because he shoots the ball so much. So if you need a mid-range small forward on the slate for cash games, you can definitely target Harrison Barnes. I think he can get you 30 fantasy points in this matchup and return value. So I like Harry B. If you're going to attack the mid-range at small forward, I think he is in play. And if you need some value at small forward, I like P.J. Tucker against Orlando. Orlando really struggles defensively against a small forward, and Tucker is close to the minimum price on Yahoo. He is only $11. With that price tag, he only needs about 20 fantasy points to return value, and he's been doing that lately. He's crushed value in 5 straight games. So if you need some value on this slate, I definitely like P.J. Tucker. Damari Carroll has been injured lately, and Tucker has been getting the start. If Tucker continues to start, then I'm definitely going to be playing him, especially on Yahoo where it's just $11. I think he can easily get 20 fantasy points and return value in this matchup. So I really like P.J. Tucker on this slate. If you need some value at small forward, I think he is in play. He can easily return value against the Magic. So I like Tucker. And yeah, that's pretty much it for small forward. Let's go and move on to power forward. All right, your top power forward on the slate is Anthony Davis. AD gets a really bad matchup against Utah. Utah is one of the best defensive teams, and they play at a very slow pace. I don't think it's very optimal to take AD, to pay up for him on this slate. I think he's way overpriced at $55. He needs close to 60 fantasy points to return value. So I'm definitely not going to be playing AD on this slate, especially not on Yahoo where he's $55. I don't think he's going to be able to return value on that price, so I'm not going to be on AD. Kevin Love against San Antonio. This isn't that great of a matchup. The Spurs are very good defensively against the power forward. And Love has been playing with a minutes restriction, so I'm not going to be paying up for him on this slate. I think there are other guys worth targeting. Kristaps Porzingis against Detroit. I like Porzingis on the slate if you want to pay up for power forward. With Melo playing limited minutes, like I said, him and D Rose are both going to have to step up and do a lot more offensively. And I like Porzingis' price at $33. He only needs about 35 fantasy points to return value. And I definitely think he can do that in this matchup against Detroit. The Pistons do struggle to defend power forwards, so I like Porzingis on the slate if you want to pay up. Also like LaMarcus Aldridge in the mid-range. Cleveland does struggle to defend power forwards. Kevin Love is not that good of a defender. And Aldridge has been very consistent as of late, and he's very cheap at just $29. He only needs about 30 to 35 fantasy points to return value, and he's hit value in 5 straight games. I think he continues that streak today, and he can easily hit value in this matchup against the Cavs. So if you're going to attack the mid-range, I really like Aldridge. I especially like him for cash games just because he's so consistent. I think he's a lock for 30 fantasy points, so if you need a cash game power forward at the mid-range, LaMarcus Aldridge would definitely be a guy I'd target. Also at the mid-range, I'm really liking Serge Ibaka against Orlando. This is Ibaka's former team. During the season, Ibaka did get traded from the Magic to the Raptors, so this is a revenge game. I really like Ibaka on the slate for tournaments. I think he's going to come out firing going up against his former team. The Raptors are going to try and get him the ball a lot more. So if you need a mid-range power forward for tournaments on the slate, I'm definitely liking Serge Ibaka. He does have really good upside in this matchup. I feel like he's going to try and do a lot more offensively in this game going up against his former team. So I like Ibaka for tournaments. But if you need a cash game power forward, I would much rather have LaMarcus Aldridge for just $4 more. Aldridge has been way more consistent lately. But Ibaka definitely has really good upside in this matchup. So I do like him as well. Also at the mid-range, I like Tobias Harris against the Knicks. The Knicks really struggle defensively against power forwards. They don't guard the power forward very well. And Harris is very cheap on Yahoo, just $21. He only needs about 25 fantasy points to return value. And I definitely think he can do that today against the Knicks. Like I said, they really struggle against power forwards. So if you need a guy at the mid-range to target, I like Tobias Harris on this slate. I definitely think he is in play. And if you need some guys on the cheaper end, I like Zach Randolph against Sacramento. Randolph did start on Sunday for Marc Gasol. Marc Gasol was out for that game, and Randolph got the start at center. If Gasol continues to be out, then Randolph is definitely a guy you want to target on this slate. With Gasol out, he should continue to start, and Randolph will get heavy usage when he's in the starting lineup. Conley will be feeding him all game, so if Marc Gasol continues to be out and he misses this game, I really like Zach Randolph. If you need some value at power forward, I definitely think he is in play if Gasol is out. And yeah, that's pretty much it for power forward. Let's go and move on to center. All right, your top center on this slate is DeMarcus Cousins. Yahoo currently has him listed as out because he did miss Sunday's game, and they haven't updated the player pool yet. Boogie is currently questionable for this game. If Boogie does play, I'm not going to be targeting him on this slate, especially not going up against the Jazz. Rudy Gobert is one of the best defenders in the league, and I definitely think Boogie is going to struggle in this game. So I don't think you want to pay up for him. I don't think Boogie is in play. Even if he does play, I'm not going to be targeting him. Rudy Gobert in that same game. Like Gobert, this isn't that great of a matchup going up against the Pelicans. Boogie is a pretty solid defender. But if Boogie is out, then Gobert should be able to dominate. And even if Boogie does play, I still like Gobert just $32. He only needs about 35 to 40 fantasy points to return value. And as you can see in Gobert's game log, he's been killing it lately, getting in the 50s. Has had a 60-point game against the Knicks. So I definitely like Gobert, especially for cash games. He's just so consistent. He's a guy you can rely on every night. And he has flashed some 50 to 60-point upside. So I like Gobert on the slate. If you're going to pay up, I think he's worth targeting. Marc Gasol against Sacramento. I really like this matchup for Gasol. Sacramento does struggle against centers. Same thing, like I said, with Boogie. Gasol is currently listed as out because he missed Sunday, and he is questionable for this game today. If Gasol does play, I think you can target him on this slate. $30 is pretty cheap for Gasol. He only needs about 35 fantasy points to return value, and I definitely think he can do that against Sacramento. They really struggle against centers, but if you're playing on Yahoo and you're attacking that price range, I would just try and find the $2 to get to Gobert. But if you can't afford the salary, I like Gasol. Also at that same price tag, I really like Andre Drummond against the Knicks. The Knicks are one of the worst defensive teams against centers. They really struggle against centers. And Drummond is very cheap on Yahoo, just $30. He only needs about 35 fantasy points to return value. And he can definitely do that in this matchup against the Knicks. So if you want to pay for center, I also like Andre Drummond on the slate. This is a really good matchup. He should be able to dominate against Hernan Gomez. So I definitely like Drummond. If you're going to pay for center, I think he is in play. Nikola Vucevic against Toronto. This isn't that great of a matchup. The Raptors are pretty solid against centers, but Vuce has been absolutely killing it lately. In his last 5 games, he's put up 27, 45, 46, 47, and 36 fantasy points. So Vooch has been very consistent, and it's just $30. He only needs about 35 fantasy points to return value, and even in this bad matchup, I definitely think Vooch can do that. Like I said, he's just been killing it lately. He is very underpriced. He should be a lot more expensive with the way he's been playing. So if you're going to pay up for center, I definitely like Vooch as well. I think he is in play. And if you need some value at center, I really like Willie Hernan-Gomez against Detroit. Hernan-Gomez has been playing very well as of late, and he's been very consistent lately. He's also very cheap on Yahoo at just $16. He only needs about 25 fantasy points to return value. And I definitely think he can do that today against Detroit. They really struggle against centers. Andre Drummond is not a good defender. So if you need some value at center, I definitely like Willie Hernan-Gomez, especially on Yahoo, where he's very underpriced at just $16. He shouldn't have a problem paying off that price tag. So if you're going to pay down for center, I think Hernan-Gomez is definitely in play. And yeah, that's pretty much it for center. Go ahead and give you guys my starting five for tonight. Alright guys, so this is my starting five for tonight's slate on Monday, March 27th. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT, or leave a comment on this video and I'll be sure to answer your question. If you guys want to get my lineups, then follow me on Twitter and send me a message. I give out Yahoo, FanDuel, and DraftKings lineups. So if you play on one of those three sites, then you can get my lineups. Just message me on Twitter and I'll get you a lineup for whatever site you play on. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Please be sure to like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed. If you never want to miss out on a video, then please be sure to click the bell icon next to my YouTube name, and you'll get notifications every time I upload. So if you never want to miss out on a video, please be sure to do that. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next video. Good luck tonight, guys.
That's just the drugs. Don't they make you feel numb? You can't feel it all. Maybe if we loved ourselves, it wouldn't be so hard. Wouldn't be so hard to love each other. I don't think